Hey,
Ah,
what's up, guys? It is your host, Lloyd Phillips. We are back with another episode of Holy Huddle, going live on Facebook and YouTube this time. If you are new here, this is your first time watching, please go check out our last interview in our video with Derek Gaskell. It was a great interview. I think it'll bless a lot of you guys. Speaking about the heart and the mentality, of, how to approach the game, and then just also some great nuggets on just how to be a servant leader and how to, you know, give the gospel, while you're in your sport. So please go check that out. Again, that was a Derek Gaskell interview that is up on YouTube and on our podcast at Holy Huddle. If you're not, if you haven't checked that out yet, we are on Apple, Spotify. Again, Holy Huddle, and you guys can check out all our interviews and all our latest interviews. So, how are you doing today, Chris?
man, I'm good,
Yes.
man. It's whoa, bless you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Hmm.
How you doing, though,
Nah,
man?
man, I'm doing good, man. Got a good day off work today. Good message for in church. Got a good bit of stuff done today, so I'm feeling encouraged. Got a good workout in. It's a good day. Getting excited to get back to the grind, and it's the first week of high school playoff. So let's go. I'm pumped.
Yeah, man, I'm excited myself. We got a lot of high school kids got different stuff going on, and as a track coach, we got our district meet on Wednesday. So hoping for good things Wednesday. So you guys out there, make sure you're praying for us as coaches because it could be a little stressful. um,
Guaranteed tears this week. Guaranteed.
from you or the players?
Probably both. If I'm hoping not, but I've always said I'm not scared to show my emotions, and I truly love these kids. And something goes on, I know I'm gonna shed a tear.
Yeah, hopefully. It's still early in the postseason, so hopefully, don't have to worry about that. Um,
Hopefully my hopefully my guys don't pull a Giannis and just not score at all.
well, yeah, we want to get into that. So today's topics that we'll be talking about, definitely want to talk about the Bucks and Boston Celtics series. Man, that was awesome to watch. I want to dive a little deeper into Giannis and Jayson Tatum. Loved how they played, and then we'll talk about some of the other playoff series. Definitely want to touch on James Harden and get y'all view on what y'all think about him and some of the other playoff series. And then we're going to finish off with talking a little bit about mental health. We were going to try to get on here last week and do that. Just didn't have the time to, but we want to talk about that. Been seeing a lot of different college athletes have been committing suicide and taking their lives, and we just know in general that this is a very stressful time on athletes, and a lot of stressful time on people in general with everything that's going on. So wanted to talk about that and how we could use our faith um, to combat, when we are feeling, when we're having mental health issues and feeling like we don't have any hope or have anything to turn to, but we do have something. So first things first, Chris, what you think about Boston winning in seven?
A little disappointed because I had the Bucks winning in Game 7, so that was hurt my pocketbook a little bit. But I just you kind of talk about Giannis and Tatum and their effort and that kind of stuff you were talking about before, and I just kind of relate to teams that we coach, and you always like search out that one athlete, the one who just gives their all on every single play. Like we have a kid on the our soccer team who he don't know the defense. He don't know how to where to run, where to find space, and all that kind of stuff. But he literally ran one time until he passed out on the ground.
Yeah,
So like it's those athletes that just give their very best no matter what their talent level is. I mean Tatum and Giannis, they're obviously very talented, but you always look for those athletes that you just can just will push themselves, and then that brings up everybody else around them. So I think that's the thing that always stood out to me was not only are they great and give their best effort, but they bring everybody else up around them.
yeah, I agree. It was a great series, man. I enjoyed watching it. I think I watched most of the games. I thought that you know, Milwaukee was going, run away with it after the first game, but after that, it was nip and tuck, and I really love. I don't know what I forget the coach's name, but Boston, man, they have a great coach. Just to kind of put it in perspective, the way they play defense on the Brooklyn Nets, to shut down KD and Kyrie Irving, that's a duo that is one of the best duos that ever touched the court offensively. And I mean, they really put the clamps on them. And then in this series, I mean, don't get me wrong, Giannis got his, but they made it tough for him. And I mean, he played
Hmm.
physical and he made it tough on them. But that is a strong team, man. It's a team that weren't really good at playing defense before. Some of their guys with Tatum um, and some of the other players, but now Marcus Smart. I mean, he's always been kind of a defense player, but Jaylen Brown and Tatum are really picking up and playing great defense. They made the trade for Al Horford, who had the 30. He's like 35 and went for 30 one night and dunked on Giannis. So I love what that coach is doing, with those young guys. And there's a point that I'm gonna get to of how hard they play together, and they put it all out there on the defensive line, on the defensive end. And then man, they got a lot of different weapons. From my perspective, I was mad when they beat the Nets because I wanted KD and them to win. But right now, I think they're the best team
The
in
hot.
the playoffs um, right now, still standing. But we'll see. I think the Heat, they're pretty good. They're a good defensive team, and then the Warriors and game going on now looks like Dallas might beat the Suns, but we'll see. NBA playoffs and basketball, it's a game of quarters, so you never know what can happen. But um, crazy game. It was kind of sad though to see like the game kind of get out of hand today, where
Yeah, you
I
wanted it to
wanted
be
to
a
look
good
at,
close game 7. Yeah,
yeah,
I
because
mean, I
game
remember
six.
in
Oh,
yeah.
you got
Oh, you're good. I was gonna say in college, man. I remember we first joined the Big 12, and Marcus Smart was at Oklahoma State. Man, that dude was a problem. Like he was just an animal, and just the same way, just effort, effort, effort. And that's why I wanted the Bucks to win because they had a guy from WVU, Javon Carter, who was the same way. Like it was just all out defensive effort. Like dude wouldn't score but 15 points a game, but he would just he'd have 15 steals, 15 points. So it
yeah.
would be that kind of way.
Yeah, that game six, man, it was crazy going back and forth with Jason Tatum and Giannis. I think Tatum had like scored like 12 or 15 straight points. Giannis, he couldn't be stopped. So which kind of brings me to my next point. Uh, do you think Giannis is the best player in the league right now? Even though they didn't win the day, I think he is.
I I don't know. I definitely don't feel like I'm qualified like Stephen A. and all those guys to say who's best, who's the goat, who's all that. I just I just like to watch the players. If I had to choose the best, I don't know. I wouldn't
Come
have an
on, man, you
opinion.
gotta give us somebody. Who
Uh,
do you think the best in the league right now?
in the NBA, I honestly don't know. I feel like LeBron could still be the greatest if he wanted to. Like if he just wanted to score every time he went down there. Um, but I don't know. I've always been a Russell Westbrook fan, even though he's kind of
Oh
going
no.
downhill. Yeah, so I don't know. I've always just been a fan of players. Definitely don't. I don't know who I could consider to be the best.
Yeah. Now I think going off your point, I think Giannis is the best player. I thought KD was, but um, the way he looked in the playoffs, I had to move off of that. But what Giannis did last year, I think last year he really kind of faced his demons and kind of went at because he had some playoff struggles and different things like that. Um, he struggled with free throws and struggled with kind of the mid range and 3-point shot, but he kept working. Beat the Nets, then got hurt against Atlanta. Ended up coming back, winning that series, and then playing in the NBA Finals. And they were down, and then came back and won from there. And just his effort level is number one. It's kind of like when Westbrook was in his prime. No one was going to you know,
Outwork. Yeah,
effort him or outwork him on the court, and that's what Giannis is. And then he's just so big. He's the most athletic guy on the court, the biggest guy on the court. He's like a Shaq, a skinny Shaq that can play point guard. like point forward, because
Yeah.
if he gets you down in the post, he's dunking. He can Euro step from the 3-point line, you know, dunk
He was
on
making
you,
threes the other night too.
making threes. He could pass the ball. I mean, I think he had about like eight or nine assists at halftime today. Um, and like at the beginning of the game, he scored or assist every point that they had at the beginning of the game. Now they didn't have Chris Middleton, who's a really good player. I think with him, that might have changed the series. But just what he was able to do with that team, I don't see anybody like he just puts so much pressure on your defense. Um, it's just watching the game. I mean, it's like he's kind of like Randy Moss. Like he's going deep, but you can't stop it. It's like Giannis is going to the hole, and you cannot stop it. And he's dunking. And I just love he's a big man. He knows he's big. He's physical, and he's going to show you. He's not playing no games. He's not going to shoot a whole bunch of threes, a whole bunch of jumpers. He's in the paint, being big, bodying you up, and dunking. And I just love that mentality. And then he plays great defense and does all it and does makes his teammates better. So that's where I think I would take it. Probably Giannis. I can't. I think KD's gonna get it back. Giannis, KD, and then man, the way I did Steph. Steph is he's got to be top three. But I like Doncic. Luka he's a bad boy, man. I mean, it's like to be like 22, 23. He's a bad boy. And then now my next question is Jayson Tatum, from what you've seen, and you said you're a fan of players. Is Jayson Tatum now asserting himself as a top 5 player? What do you like his game, or have you watched him play much outside of this series?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched him play much, but I love the he's definitely long, lengthy, and shoots it today. From what I saw, just watching him, he was a very good passer. Like that kind of what I said before. And his effort opened up opportunities for other people. And I don't remember the dude's name, but he was the leading scorer, not Tatum. It was I can't remember his name, but he had like 27, and Tatum only had 20, like 3 or something like that. But he was opening opportunities for him, and he didn't miss a three. I can't
Yeah,
remember his name.
Grant Williams. Grant Williams.
Yeah, there you go.
He hit like 8 threes today. He looked like Game 6 Clay.
Mm-hmm.
Clay Thompson can't miss a Game 6. But yeah, I like Jayson Tatum's game. I mean, he's well rounded. And the big thing, I mean, we knew he could score. And coming into the Nets series, I was like, he's good. Jaylen Brown's good, but I don't think they would outdo KD and Kyrie offensively. But the big thing that I like about both of those guys is they play defense. Like Tatum shut down Kevin Durant. I mean, he had help and they had a good scheme, but he played physical, and he played tenacious, man, the whole game. And then offensively, he's just smooth. I mean, he can get it at every level. He can take you to the cup, dunk on you. He can, mid range, post up, and then he also, I mean, his 3-point shot is deadly. He can do it off the dribble. So he has all the qualities, and I think he said something about he's changed a lot since his first couple of years, and he's been working out and putting the time in the gym. And this series has been able to show like it was a physical series, but his body's been able to hold up. Because I remember watching Game 1. I mean, Giannis was just beating him in the chest, and he's falling down, and then the defense kind of seemed hectic, and they couldn't really play through it. I'm like, he might get exposed. But after that first game, I think he had like 30 the rest of the way, and then he had 26 tonight, in the closeout game. So I think he's top 5 and maybe asserting as, one of the top 3 players in the league. So shout out to Jayson Tatum, man. Shout out to Giannis. Shout out to Jaylen Brown, the Bucks. Not the Bucks, but the Boston Celtics, man, and their coaching staff and that whole team. Did you see Al Horford when he dunked on Giannis? Did you see
I
that?
didn't see it.
You gotta check that out, man. That was awesome, man, because he's like 35. Giannis had dunked on him and mean mugged him. I think it was like Game 4, and it looked like the Bucks was about to take over. and old man Horford came back and put it on him. So that was awesome to watch. And then he dunked on Giannis, which I didn't think he had that in his legs.
Hmm.
A lot of people they tell me I'm too old. Now I'm not the F Al Horford is, but at 31, I'm too old to play basketball, lift weights. But that's a different story for a different day. So yeah, did you watch any of the other playoff series?
I did not. I did not. I watched. Let's see. If it's in terms of sports worlds, I remember the Derby happened since we last talked, and the horse that won was 80-1, big underdog. Got in the race because somebody else got hurt.
Yeah, I heard that.
So that was a big thing that happened. I know in the sports world. Other than that, I mean, we're in that point where it's the baseball season, so it's a slow slow season of baseball, and then baseball or basketball and hockey are finishing up. So, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not a big hockey guy either.
Yeah, I haven't watched any hockey. Watched the Philadelphia and Heat. Watched a little bit of that. I wanted to just put a quick thing on this. What's your or I'll just give my thoughts on James Harden. Like it's funny, like how we just talked about Tatum and Giannis of how hard they play, and then you got a guy like James Harden who's quit on the Rockets, quit on the Nets, um, and it only takes like 10 shots in the game, two in the second half. It's just like effort, that's what a lot of these stars now, man. It's like especially the older stars, it's like they're so deep, there's so much divas, and these young guys is coming in with heart, tenacity. They hungry, they want that top spot. You know what I mean? And so it's like, but just speaking on Hart, man, he looks terrible, man. And it's like I never viewed him as a great player in my eyes. I mean, he was good, obviously, but I just always thought he was a gimmick, just you
Yeah,
know, trying to get fouls. And I mean, but that step back three he had when it was going, it was good. But it's crazy to see him fall off. Like, I mean, I think he had like 20 or like twice or maybe one time in that whole series. Like I couldn't believe that. I mean, I know he can get ghosts in, big playoff games, but to only have
yeah.
15, 11 in the closeout game 7. I mean, that's terrible. Uh I hope he work on his game and get it back.
I mean, I feel like we all know one of those players that have been on our team in the past or something like that that they're so good, but then they just give this lackadaisical, lackluster, for lack of a better word, piss poor effort. And that's the most frustrating part is watching him just not box somebody out or and then get upset that he doesn't get a call on the other side of the court. I feel like we all had athletes like that on our team or teams we coach. Like, we as coaches see their potential, but they just kind of don't care. But then all of a sudden they care for one moment and do something crazy, and you're like, like that potential is there. You could be so good, but they just give like this. I don't care today effort, like, which leads me to think like something else has to be going on. Like, there's gotta be some mental struggle, something going on in his life. There's got to be something, got to be.
I mean, they bought him in for, and we're going to talk about this in a second, like mental health. They bought him in for Ben Simmons, who didn't want to shoot the ball, and like you said, a guy that ultra talented, you got to at least shoot the ball more than 2 times in the second half.
Yeah,
Like, um, that's just unacceptable. And he's going to be getting the max contract. And one of the quotes he said, after the game, he said, he said, why weren't you as aggressive as you should have been, or whatever the case may be? And he was like, well, I would pass the ball, but it just never got back to me. It's like, like you're the point guard. What you mean it didn't get back to you? You got the ball in your hands every play. You're $50 million man. Like, if you want the ball, you and Joel Embiid is gonna get the ball. I mean, and even in that case, like Joel Embiid as a center, sometimes it's tough to get the center the ball, but a point guard, a shooting guard, they get the ball anytime they want. You know what I mean? You wasn't telling Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, he ain't getting pass the ball and then you don't get the ball back. Like, come on now. It just
I
don't
think
make sense.
And watching that game, that was probably the most frustrating part to see his lackluster effort and see Embiid wearing a face mask, falling down 30 times in the game, still trying to get every little thing he can to help rally his team to come back. And then you got somebody else on the team who's, oh, they didn't pass me the ball. Like, man, I choked. Like, come on, man. Like, that would drive me nuts.
Yeah,
Um, like I've always said as a coach, like I'm okay with losing. Like if I lose, I'm okay. I'm not okay losing with lackluster effort or not giving my best. Like that keeps me up at night. So to see a player like have all that talent that and just not really care, that's the frustrating part of losing.
yeah, agreed, man, agreed. And that's the one thing that I see. Um, like you said, you don't mind if you lose. That happens. You don't mind if you have a bad game. Um,
Yeah.
but the thing is like I'm gonna go out swinging at least. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna go out and not shoot the ball and especially it's weird to me, and I maybe that's a curse of some of these great athletes is always things come easy to them, and so when adversity and different things like that happen, it's tough to kind of to push through it. But it's like if I had that talent, like I'm gonna be like Kobe. I'm shooting like you never had to worry about Kobe not giving effort. He's shooting 100 times, whether he got a guy open over here, but he felt like he's gonna help the team win. And he gonna shoot that thing. Um, but yeah, that's crazy. But enough about him. We don't want to be a podcast or a show that's tearing players down. And
I
then in
mean,
the other,
yeah, I was gonna say just same thing. I hope he gets help because something has got to be going on. Like, there's no way that that is what your best is or what you want to display as a role model for everybody. Like it or not, you're a role model for children. You are gonna be looked up to as this great person. Like please get help. There's got to be something. Got to
I
be.
mean, for $50 million, man, you gotta give me more than 11 points. I mean, we could go out there and get two, get a rebound, something like that. That don't make no sense, man. I
Oh,
mean,
I'm gonna get 2 buckets or I'm gonna foul out. One of the two. Like I'm going.
I'm gonna tear an ACL, but I'm gonna be
Yeah.
giving it everything I got.
Oh, I'm gonna take 2 charges and break all my ribs.
um, but yeah, man. That series, and then the last series, we had Game 6, Clay, Steph, Draymond Green, versus the uh, Memphis Grizzlies. That ended in six. Game 6, Clay went off. They got the John Morant and those young cats out of there. He was hurt, but that was a good series, man. The big thing I take away from that is like these young boys, man. Like I said earlier, they're coming, and even with John Morant out, they was still playing hard. So a lot of these teams, Boston, Memphis, Dallas, the Suns, even New Orleans. Watched them like a lot. Like the NBA has some good ball and some good players, man. And it's been fun to watch. I didn't think because I didn't really have a dog in the fight this year, but it's been fun to watch. So um, that'll be our recap for NBA. Like Chris said, I haven't watched any other sports. Don't really watch any NHL. If the Penguins, I think the Penguins are still playing. Go Penguins! I think they're in the game 7. I'm from Pittsburgh. But other than that, haven't watched any much sports. But we do want to talk about the mental health in sports and different things like that. I saw a post. I think it was 2 weeks ago. A young male that was on my football team. I was coaching him in track. His mom had posted something about mental health and how a young girl not too far from us, about an hour away from JMU, committed suicide. And I think she was the catcher, I believe, but committed suicide. And then just, how her son, he stopped playing football. It was tough on him, just the kind of mental strain. Um, and then we seen like, Ben Simmons, him coming out and saying like, hey, I don't, I can't play, and the mental health issues of kind of being nervous of playing and things like that is even making my back flare up. So he didn't play in the playoffs. Um, we had Kyrie kind of go out on a burst to where he was talking about the media and all that, and how they're tearing people down, and so it's just a lot. And like we said, there was other collegiate athletes that have committed suicide this year, a lot this year. So just kind of wanted to touch base on that. What's your thoughts of you know mental health in sports right now?
I mean, I definitely think it's bigger than it's ever been, but also because we're talking about it. A lot of you see a lot of campaigns that say kick the stigma and do all this kind of stuff, so that players feel more open about talking about it, which I think is a very good thing. You need to be open to talking because that's the only way to get over it. But at the same time, I also think you need to learn because I think ultimately it's just the thoughts and things that go run through your head. And I mean, we all have those. We all have those, self doubts. We all have those, problems. But it's also, how we respond to them that I think is where the, truth really lies. And I know you and I, when we have those thoughts or those, down times, we know, hey, I need to go pray or I need to reach out to somebody who can help me pray or pray for me. And that's what helps you through those times. But I know a lot of people that maybe some of these athletes weren't believers and didn't have someone to turn to. So I think that's definitely definitely a conversation that everyone should still feel comfortable enough to talk about. But also like we gotta know. I always kind of say, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. We got to find people to help us, an encouraging environment, and how do we change the behavior, and ultimately get out of that.
I agree. I agree. I love the point that you made about um, reaching out to people, because I think that is as athletes, especially these top tier athletes, you're a Division 1 athlete or in the pros, you have a lot of yes men and different things like that, and kind of everything's been you know not easy but catered to because of your athletic talent. And so I wonder it can be tough for kids to kind of, or athletes to find that person that they can confide in, that hey, I'm struggling,
Yeah,
I'm going through this. And because everybody's gonna be, oh, come on, man, like that's weak, or whatever the case may be. And so I bet that's difficult. And like the young lady said, like coaches, make sure you're aware of you know your players and what they're going through. And so I know as myself as a coach, you know, you're always pushing the kids and trying to, come on, man, get tough. Let's go, push through, push through. Why you acting soft and different things like that. But a lot of times, I think we got to understand who we're coaching, who we're talking to, and we got to encourage them. Because a lot of kids are going through struggles at their home life. It may not even necessarily be the sport that's bothering them. It could be a
yeah,
breakup. It could be a bad home life. It could be, I know a lot of kids will get homesick from college. So there's a lot of different things that can play in. But I think it is important, if anybody's out there listening, is get someone that, we talked about, I think the last time is like, you know, having someone, two is better than one, because if one falls in the ditch, the other can help them out. You know what I mean? And that's the
yeah,
same thing. Now is as you talked about, having a body of Christ and having church or a pastor or a minister, or your some close friends that you can confide in. But also for these youth that maybe you don't go to church, maybe you're not religious, but having somebody that that can keep you accountable, somebody that you can be real with and honest with, because today's world, everything's fake. You got your Instagram, your Twitter, and it's all just this big show of how great you are, and how everybody is beneath you. But um, it's hard for us a lot of times to take off that image and that shell and say, "Hey, I'm broken." You know, and so
yeah.
I like that point. And then the next point I wanted to make is like, I think that, like you said, it's okay to be struggling, um, but it's not okay to stay that way. And so I think a lot of times in these cases, some people, it's adversity. You know what I mean? And so some people in adversity, they just keep going. You know what I mean? They keep going, keep fighting back. And so I think some things we need to understand is okay, this is a mental health issue, it's a struggle, some anxiety, whatever the case may be. And then some things I think may not necessarily even be a mental health issue. It just may be like, hey, you're going through some adversity, you're going through some tough time, but you got to fight through it. Like I think in the case of Ben
Yeah,
Simmons, like, hey, get back onto the court and face your demons. Like that's what's going to help you, not making up excuses and running away from the situation. And so, I mean, that's kind of how I've always approached life.
yeah,
Like, hey, something doesn't go my way, like, hey, we gotta work harder and go get it. And I think sometimes that gets missed in this culture. This where it's like it's cool to be a victim in some cases. And I'm not trying to say that if you have a mental health issue that you're playing a victim, but sometimes it's you know some people throw that out there. You know what I mean? And
but
it
yeah. They throw it out there a little too quick. Yeah, like I've witnessed a little bit of times where kids or athletes they're less coachable because they have that card to pull. And like you said before, I don't want to discourage or make play it down at all, but I think there is a little too quick to turn to, oh well, I just can't do like there's see, you know, if you try to coach somebody hard nowadays, it doesn't work. Especially with the younger generation, they just break down. They're not able to withstand that coaching that came before. And I mean, just like I do, like when you coach somebody hard, it's because you see that potential, and you have to get those little things out of them. But I think too quickly so, so some people turn to that meant it's just my mental health or something like that, and that is a thing, but and that's a tough. I think there's a line there. Where do you see that somebody really needs help, and where do you know that they're just wanting to give you a reason so they ain't got practice today or something like that. Like I know we used to have someone at work who would text us. It happened frequently the morning of, hey, I need a mental health day today. It's like, well, crap, I'm already working 14 hours today. What am I supposed to do? So it's there's a point where I definitely agree with it, and I think that we need to be weary and pay attention to what's going on with people. Um, and but at the same time, there's also a point of, hey, you gotta show up and get it done, regardless of how you're feeling. Like it's gotta we have to keep fighting and keep going.
Yeah, I like that point because I think two things can happen is I could be struggling with something, and you can come in as a coach and show love and grace, and hey, I'm here for you. What do you need? You know what I mean? Um, I can give you these different things. Here's some different resources. Here's let's talk after practice. Let's do this. But then there's also I think there needs to be that hey, like you're going through this, but I want you to work through this. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
want you to try to get your mind off of it. Get your mind off of this. And for some people when you have different anxieties and things like that, like that can, or you're depressed, that can really, bind you. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it's a very serious thing, and that's why I think it's important that we have to take care of our mental health. But I think first, what goes into that, our mental state, is understanding. Our coach at Malone, he used to always say, "What is your identity in?" And so, a lot of us, at the time, your identity's in football. You know what I mean? Your identity's in baseball. Your identity is in how many girls you have or how many girls you sleep with. Your identity is in your clothes that you wear, your car that you drive, the friends that you associate with, what job you have. And so a lot of times when that thing isn't going good for you, whether it could be going good, and some people still aren't happy. Like we see, I'm not. saying that he's not happy, but we see James Harden on the court. He's $50 million man, but he doesn't seem like he's having a ball on the basketball court.
Yeah.
But or like Ben Simmons, for instance, young guy making all this money, and it's pretty successful, made all-star games and things like that, but still kind of has this anxiety and this kind of not sureness of itself. And so I think that's huge to have our identity, to make sure our identity is in Christ, have our identity in something that's foundational, because when you have that, when your sport, when your wife, your girlfriend, your job, whatever the case may be, when that is not working out, or you're in a bad spot, like you said earlier, you have something to fall back on. And so a lot of people don't have anything to fall back on. They don't have, maybe they had a rough home life, so everything
Yeah.
that they've done is sports, and that's how they impress people, and that's how they get love, is because I'm a great athlete. And when that shuts off,
They don't know what to
now
do.
what am I? I'm just a
Yeah.
you know I'm just a bum who's getting booed by all the fans. You know what I mean? Or I had a bad game, and now players are looking at me different, or the coaches don't respect me the same. And so I think that's huge, is having that foundation, and having, like I said, having people that, hey, I'm not just a baseball player, I'm not just a football player, but I'm a man of God. I'm a
Amen.
person that, I'm more than just a sport. I'm more than just my job. Um, and so I think that's huge, for us to see that, because I think that's the issue that a lot of people face.
Amen, man. And just I would say, just to add kind of some more scripture to it, when we talked about that, we wanted to talk about mental health. Went and kind of did try to see where that was in the Bible and that kind of stuff. And it's First Kings chapter 19. It talks about Elijah.
I'll
And
share
it's
that. I'm gonna share that
yeah.
on the screen for you, so we can.
Okay.
You want to say the verse?
Yeah, so I'll read a little bit. So it says, verse 19. I'm starting in chapter 19, verse 3. It says, then Elijah became afraid and immediately ran for his life. He went out on a day's journey and ran into the wilderness. He sat down under a broom tree and prayed that he might die. He said, "I've had enough, Lord. Please take my life, for I'm no better than my fathers." Then he lay down and slept under the broom tree. Suddenly an angel touched him. The angel told him, "Get up and eat." Then he looked, and there in his hand was a loaf of bread baked over hot stones and a jug of water. So he ate, drank, and lay down again. Um, and then at the end of it, it says, "Then on the strength from that food, he walked for 40 days and 40 nights," which to me just says, like, hey, man, like, this is a prophet who literally sat down and said, "God, I'm done. Um, take my life. I'm just done. I can't do this anymore." Um, and in response, God let him rest, then gave him food and water that was strong enough for a month of walking. So, like, first of all, to me, that says, like, when you're in your deepest and darkest moments, like, we have to turn to God for strength, because that's where the ultimate strength can come from. And we can see what the strength that he can give you to literally walk for 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. And then secondly, how do I as a person, and how do I as a man of God find someone who is struggling like that and may need that strength? How do I, approach it, and help the next person so that I can give them some strength when they're going through a time where they literally don't want it anymore? Um, and then kind of the second point that I had was, Philippians 4:8 says, "What's true, noble, right, pure, lovely, and admirable, just think on that." So, these thoughts and the demons we have and the stuff that goes on in our mind, we have to run through a lens of all that. Is what I'm thinking true? Is what I'm thinking noble? Is it right? Is it pure? Is it lovely? Is it admirable? And if you have a thought that is leading you to want to, not live anymore, or do something bad, or depression or anxiety or whatever it is, I can guarantee you it ain't one of those things. It ain't true. It ain't, noble. You're probably thinking something bad about yourself or thinking that somebody feels some way about you when they probably don't. I've always said I hate text messages because everybody reads text messages differently, and then you get angry at each other about y'all reading them differently. So like I definitely want everybody to see through the lens of what those things are. And then kind of to draw back on what Derek said in our interview a couple weeks ago, he talked about having a vision that's bigger than any temptation. And I think, if our vision to be a great athlete, to be a great husband, to be a great father, to be whatever it is, to be a great man of God, if that's the vision God's given you, then you know dang well all those thoughts don't come with it. So like we have to, pause, pray, and reflect that that stuff's not from God, and that we, if we just turn to the right way, it I hate saying it should be an easy change, but we should definitely like if we know a path and we know where to go, like we should be able to stop, turn around, and go the other way.
Hmm. Yeah, man, I agree. Great scriptures, great points there. Like you said, that God is going to, He will walk with us, especially, man, if you're a Christian athlete, or just, working and different things like that. Like that's who we can call upon. That's who we can trust in our time of need. The Word of God says, "Cast all your burdens on me." Um, for your burdens are heavy, but on me they're light. And so that's what God wants from us, is to cast our cares and our burdens on Him when we feel overwhelmed or stressed and things like that. Um, and like you said, what's true? Like, what did God say about you in the Word of God? He created you for a purpose and a plan, and so we have to understand and know that. But I also think it's big for us, man, as coaches, the church, people that are in communities that they're working with the youth, working with athletes, um, college and things like that. Like, be persistent in um, looking out and looking after these kids that are struggling and dealing with certain things, because sometimes you think, okay, well, I could pray or I could talk to this kid one time. Like, sometimes it doesn't it's not a quick fix. It's not a one time prayer. It's not a read your Bible one time and pray and then it's healed. But it's being persistent and just keep going to the well. Like, Lord, I need your help. um, Hey, brother, I need your help. I need you, to be looking after me, and then vice versa. Like, be praying for that person and be in a position where, hey, I'm gonna keep doing little things that help this person know that they matter. Help this person know that you're not just an athlete. You're not just uh, my friend, but you have a purpose. You know what I mean? You're not just a coworker, but you have a purpose. And so I think that's huge as well. Reaching out, texting someone, just showing that love, inviting a person somewhere. Um, all those things could be helpful, and just to getting out of that, getting out of your own way. Sometimes, you know what I mean. Like you said, a lot of times we have the mindset that people are feeling a certain way about us, and no one loves us, no one likes us, and all these different things. When that sometimes that's not even the case. So um, we as coaches and things like that, and people out there, man, let's, if you know someone struggling, or even if you don't, just always have something kind and nice to say. I know that's something I can work on, uh, especially with athletes. I'm always calling them scrubs and bums, just messing with them, banner. But yeah, I think that is important, man, to see where people are from and hurting. And I think if we're praying, God will lead us in those areas to where we can help and touch people. So, um, any last words you have before we wrap it up?
No, man. I mean, if we could, I'll say if you listen to this and you're struggling or you need help, feel free to reach out, and we'd love to talk to you, pray with you, whatever we can do to help push you in the right direction. I mean, want everybody to I feel like everybody in this world has potential to do great things, and nobody should feel that they don't have that.
Amen. Yeah, so we'll wrap it up there. Again, this was another episode of the Holy Huddle. If you guys are still out there, make sure you go check out the Derek Gaskell interview. Was a major league pitcher. He has some great things to say. So make sure you go check out that. Make sure you go check out our Holy Huddle podcast. And then if you're an athlete, coach, we would love to hear your testimony, love to hear how you navigate life, how you navigate your sport with your faith. And so if you guys are listening and even if you think, hey, I'm just a high school athlete or I'm an old coach, I haven't coached in a while, or I'm a nobody, like we would love to have, if you got good morals and love Jesus, man, we would love to have you on because I think it'd be a great. We need the body to help each other because those people that are struggling, people that ain't struggling, can always hear a good word and be encouraged from somebody. So if that's the
Yeah.
case, man, or if you know anybody, any athletes or anything like that, reach out to us, reach out to them, and we would love to get another interview to talk in fellowship. So without further ado, man, you guys have a blessed night, and we'll see you guys again soon. Peace.